My name is Wiley Joseph Dollins III. Please like and subscribe. Thank you for visiting Students of Truth. So I'm making this video. If you have any comments, concerns, questions, compliments, criticism, constructive criticism, please say so in the comment section. So I'm making this video maybe actually kind of about a few things. So one of the new mysteries that's been introduced to humanity is the mystery of light, right? So this is with CERN, the Large Hadron Collider, the double slit experiment. That a particle of light can be a photon. It can be a particle and a wave at the same time, right? Depending on, it's called the observer effect. This is this new mystery, this new phenomenon. It's called the observer effect. They shot a single particle of light through two slits because they wanted to understand how light behaved. What they discovered is this phenomenon, this mystery. It's called the observer effect. They discovered that the photon, which is a single particle of light, travels through each slit exclusively, only through one slit. At the same time, it travels through each slit exclusively and both slits and no slits. It's all possibilities. And the only contingency actually is called the observer effect. It's that if we measure it, if it's observed, light behaves absolutely different, right? So this goes into our perception, right? And our perception of reality. So everyone's life experience gives them an absolutely unique education, absolutely exclusive to an individual, to that person, and it's different from everyone else's. Everyone's life experience gives them an absolutely unique education. So in epistemology, which is the theory of knowledge, we separate subjection from objectionable reality. So you can think of it like subjective is inside your mind or body. Objectionable means everything outside of yourself. So we exist in a unity, all right? The world and objectionable reality is this unity. And by our perception, we choose to focus our attention. We observe individual items. We individualize items when we choose to focus on them, okay? So we navigate with our perspective through objectionable reality, and we focus on items, ideas, or objects. When we choose to observe something, right, with our attention, then that forms a relationship to that object or idea. This relationship becomes our belief. And our beliefs are either faith or doubt. We either believe in what we see, that it's true, it did happen, it will happen, or we doubt it and we do not. So when we have faith in something, that creates anticipation. When we have doubt in something, that creates anxiety. So everyone's experience, right, regardless of what in actuality is true or is not, the important thing is that our experience allows us to create concepts within our own thought. So we create these concepts of everything, all right? And so that's just part of the beauty and magnificence of human intelligence. And so, for instance, Christ, whether it's historically accurate or some people believe that it's not historically accurate, right? The important thing is that we're able to have a concept of what Christ was and taught, right? Which was actually unconditional love. And so so we have these concepts, and everything is for our benefit, right? We incarnate as human beings because before we were human, when we were spirit, we did not know what death was. We did not know what it meant to be separate. Okay, and so we are come to Earth and become humans, incarnate as human beings, to learn these things. Okay, and and furthermore, the evolution of our consciousness and our ego and our I, our individualism, has given us the freedom to for judgment and to make a decision, right? So that we can determine what is good and what is bad, all right? And then likewise, we can choose to exhaust our efforts to personify the nature of our choice. Like, we can be good or be bad, whatever we decide to do, but we develop this understanding and this dualism, right? Which man is actually a trinity, right? And dualism is actually an illusion. But we have our experience so that we can know these concepts in our own mind and then use those concepts to determine our reality, our action, our will, right? Thinking, feeling, and will, the trinity of man. And all experiences are actually for our benefit. When we can learn the art of alchemy, mental transmutation, and to just by using the law of polarity to change our perspective, change the way that we look at something. And instead of seeing things like obstacles, we can change the way we look at it and perceive it as an opportunity, right? This is mental alchemy and learning that everything is actually for our benefit. So, for instance, I live in the United States. It's an election year. So that's all over media and the news and stuff. But when people are considering what candidate that they'll nominate, they're focused on stuff like maybe the gas prices will go down or maybe the cost of living will be more affordable. We do not even allow ourselves to entertain the idea that one human being can achieve like world peace, could rectify the fact that human beings are murderous, wretched creatures. We murder each other. We've always murdered each other. We rape and enslave and genocide, and this is just human nature. We don't even allow ourselves to imagine that we could elect someone who could rectify the nightmare that it is, humanity. We've evolved, right? We're making quantum computers, which can be a 0 and a 1 at the same time. It's another example of this, the mystery of light, how a quantum computer chip can be a 0 and a 1 at the same time. And actually the way it does it, have niobium rings, and they'll send a positive charged particle on one side of it to travel in one direction and a negative charged particle on the other side of it to travel in the opposite direction, so it can achieve both states at the same time. That's the magic of these quantum computers, right? Quantum intelligence. And so it comes down to our perception and how we choose to perceive things, right? And unconditional love was something I actually had like a real academic problem with, because I said it's impossible. How can you do anything unconditionally? Let's say for unconditional love, well, the condition is that I'm a man, or the condition is that I'm a human being, right? I love everything equally, but I'm a human being, so that's a condition, right? I don't know what it would be like for me not to be a human being, or for me not to be an individual. So those are conditions that are placed on us, and unconditional love is what a incredible and profound concept that actually is, and learning to embody and personify that. But we can actually, and I'm thoroughly convinced that we have to achieve and solidify a doctrine that has that kind of potential, to evolve us as a species. Humanity is one species on Earth among tens of billions. We're so unique and so exclusive. We're so, we are the aliens here. We are absolutely astronomically unique and different from everything else in our environment. So we have the ability to reason with ourselves, right? So this is the thing that we have to overcome, is our own reasoning, right? Our own limitations that we place on ourselves. The only harm that has ever come to mankind has been from mankind itself. The only threat to humanity is humanity. That's a simple fact. So it's this reasoning that we've adapted to and adopted in our understanding. And, we've just kind of accepted that humanity is this murderous, barbarous, wretched species, and that it's just beyond our capability to, military and murder is the number one economy and occupation on the planet for every country, everywhere, and always has been. So while we are evolving technologically, right, our species actually is incredibly primitive, barbaric, and we have to develop a doctrine, a teaching of some way to overcome this. And actually, there finally, the inauguration of this new understanding. And what it really comes down to is our perception, right? When we're arguing or disagreeing with somebody, right? So often people are so consumed with wanting to be correct and solidify whatever it is that they're arguing or defending about, that the opportunity to learn something just absolutely escapes people so often. But everything, absolutely everything, is a learning experience. Everything is for our benefit, for us to learn, right? We incarnate as human beings so that we can determine the difference between good and bad. Okay, there's 12 dimensions, and the first dimension is unity, consciousness. Consciousness is all that exists, and consciousness has split itself apart to experience itself. And therefore, the second dimension was created, where duality and time and space exist. Okay, so duality is so that we can determine the difference between good and bad, up and down, right or left, because they're actually the same thing, right? Hot and cold are not opposites. They are the exact same thing. They're two instantiations, two observations of an underlying unity, okay? And they're relative. When I say it's hot, someone could be in the same environment. They say that it's cold, or they say that it's not hot. So these things are relative to our observation. That's what hot and cold are. They're two observations of an underlying same thing. Same thing with love and hate, up and down, in or out, everything, right? These are not opposites. They're two instances of the same exact thing. This is our observation, our perception, okay? And how we choose to interpret our perception, okay? We have sense perceptibility, our five senses, sight, smell, taste, touch, and hearing, right? And so direct experience, right? What we learn from direct experience and what we learn from deduction and a priori, right? Like, I don't have to knock a glass coffee cup off the table to know that it's going to break, right? I have learned that from other coffee cups and watching them break, porcelain or glass, that it shatters. So I haven't learned that from direct experience, and that's really actually a bad example, but things that we learn a priori, okay? And because of our evolution, in intelligence, we've evolved to a state where we are individuals, our ego, our individualism, and judgment, right? So the ability to make a decision, right? If I'm going to turn at a red light, I'm going to turn left, and there's oncoming traffic. I have to judge whether it's safe to turn now or I should wait for the oncoming traffic to pass. So it's a decision. It's our ability, our remarkable ability to make decisions. So, people say don't be judgmental, but it's actually our human, necessity that we judge. And people say don't assume stuff, but again, this is because we're intelligent. We assume 10 million things every day. If I'm at a restaurant and the other guest goes to use the bathroom and they come back and they say, I had to pee or whatever, right? Well, they don't have to tell me that they unbuttoned their pants, zipped down their zipper, undid their belt, and every step of the way. I can assume these things, right? We have to assume these things. We're able to communicate now on a level that we are evolving. But if humanity hasn't changed, we'll say, in 2,000 years, because people 2,000 years ago still had these qualities of jealousy, envy, charity, graciousness, and all the attributes that humans have today, we're still humans. You know what I mean? And the fact that human beings have no idea where we came from, our human origin story, you know what I mean? Going back to like Göbekli Tepe and these other megalithic, monolithic structures right after the Younger Dryas and last ice age, it seems like humanity had this explosion of intelligence, right? We've got complex written languages, economy, architecture, agriculture, which was the biggest, actually. You can see where our grains changed on Earth, and so did we. So we got much more intelligence. And the first signs of agriculture are in a place called Anatolia. It's modern-day Turkey, just outside of Mesopotamia, Babylonian. So, but we have these evolutions in our structure, like humanity, and as we're evolving, right? Like with Moore's law and all the different information age and stuff, we really have to start focusing on world peace, right? We're too barbaric for intelligent life in the universe to interact with. We're just too hostile. We're just a murderous, barbarous species, primitive creatures. And so we really have to start focusing on a way to achieve world peace. It at least needs to be in people's conception, right? We are not we're not even aiming high enough. So it's really important for people to focus on that. And so our life gives us an absolutely unique education so that we can have the concepts that we have in our head, right? And everything that we've ever experienced is absolutely necessary, right? So that we can illuminate from within. All of our experiences are to teach us ultimately so that we can reach this place of enlightenment, this illumination. And that's what I want to help people understand is like alchemy and mental transmutation in our individualism, and hopefully that we can achieve world peace.